The Revolver Convolution Reverb plugin by MicDSP is the ultimate combination of high-end reverb control with the sound capacity of convolution. The plugin comes with hundreds of impulse responses, including acoustic spaces and out-of-production equipment. In addition to the convolution engine, Revolver comes with dedicated and routable EQ, 2 stereo delay lines, a reverb decay crossover network, and specialized stereo imaging control. Revolver also comes with plugins for making your own impulse responses. Let's check out what Revolver is capable of section by section to give you a better idea of what we're talking about. Revolver's menus are organized by tabs on the top and pages on the left, some of which go hand in hand with each other. We'll start by moving through the tabs. As we do so, we'll cover the pages relevant to each tab. Upon opening Revolver, you'll be greeted with the Data tab, which shows the currently loaded IR's name, details, and image. You'll also find the values for the current reverb length, RT60 time, and dry and wet volumes. The length, dry, and wet controls are all controllable via the knobs on the left side of the UI, or by clicking and typing in the desired values. Length specifies the length of the reverb's tail relative to the length of the IR's tail before any modifications, and the RT60 time refers to the amount of seconds it takes for the reverb to fall to roughly -60 dB at the set length value. Lastly, the wet and dry knobs set the volume of the wet and dry signal at the plugin's output stage. The next tab on the UI is the IR tab, which shows a graphical representation of the currently selected IR. On the y-axis, you'll see the volume of the IR as it progresses through time on the x-axis. You can also use the minus and plus buttons at the top of the graph to zoom in and out. Following the IR tab is the plot tab, which represents different things depending on which page is selected on the left side of the plugin. When the main page is selected, it portrays the values relating to the LF and HF color controls. Use the LF and HF color knobs to alter the amount of boost or cut applied to the low frequency or high frequency portion of the reverb signal, respectively, as set by the LF freak and HF freak knobs. In this page, we can also use the attack knob to control the speed of the reverberation's onset and the pre-delay knob to adjust the amount of time it takes for the reverb signal to appear at the output after the plugin receives input signal. If we select the EQ page, the plot tab now represents the EQ curve set by the knobs at the bottom of the UI. This page includes 3 bands of parametric EQ, and each one is controllable by its freak and gain knobs. Finally, if we select the crossover page, labeled X over, the plot tab now represents the crossover values set at the bottom of the UI. It's here that we can specify reverb decay times for 3 different bands spread across the frequency spectrum. Use the X1 and X2 knobs to control the crossover points, and use LF decay to control the decay time of the frequencies below crossover 1, MF decay to control the decay times of the frequencies between crossovers 1 and 2, and HF decay to control the decay time of the frequencies above crossover 2. Now that we've covered the plot tab, let's move on to the flow tab. This is where you can control the placement of Revolver's various processing tools in the plugin's signal chain. For example, Mode 3 will route the plugin's reverb, Delay 1, and Delay 2 signals all in parallel, while Mode 2 will route the output of the reverb into both the plugin's output and Delay 1. From there, the signal will travel both to the plugin's output and into Delay 2, and Delay 2's output will go to the plugin's output. You may also notice that there are various boxes labeled EQ. Each one of these EQ boxes is clickable, and you can click one to enable it. This will set the EQ with the settings specified in the EQ page at whatever position you selected, be it directly after the reverb, after Delay 1, or after Delay 2. Note that you can only enable one of these EQ boxes at a time. Speaking of delay, let's move on to the Sync tab and discuss the Delay 1 and Delay 2 pages that control Revolver's 2 delay lines. The Sync tab is broken up into 3 sections: Tempo, Delay 1 Sync, and Delay 2 Sync. Use the Tempo section to set the tempo of the delay lines. Enabling Host will force Revolver to automatically adopt the tempo set within your DAW's session, while enabling BPM will allow you to enter a specific BPM value by clicking the value in the BPM field. You can also set the BPM by tapping the tap button at the desired tempo. Moving directly to the right are the Delay 1 Sync and Delay 2 Sync sections. These sections control the corresponding delay's subdivision relative to the BPM set in the tempo section. To use triplets or dotted notes, click the 3 and dot buttons, respectively, underneath each subdivision selector. Now onto the knobs along the bottom of the plugin that appear when either the Delay 1 or Delay 2 pages are selected. Delay, Groove, Feedback, Pan, Level, and Tone. The Delay knob controls the delay time in milliseconds of the selected delay. Note that this knob has no effect if a subdivision is selected for the corresponding delay in the sync tab. To its right is the Groove knob, which adjusts the synced delay time by up to plus or minus 100% of the delay time of the next smallest note interval. As such, this knob has no effect unless a subdivision is selected and the corresponding delay's sync tab. Each delay's feedback level can also be set with its feedback knob, which determines the amount of signal returned to the delay line to create echo and tempo-based effects. This value can be positive or negative. Lastly, each delay's pan and level can be set via the pan and level knobs, and tone adds brightness to the delay when it's turned up and takes it away when it's turned down. The final tab along the top of the plugin is System, which is labeled SYS. It has tail cut, mode, stereo, and presets sections to control a variety of different system-level functionality. First, tail cut controls the level in dB at which the reverb tail is tapered off and is no longer audible. For example, when set to negative 100 dB, a reverb's tail will be smoothed out to 0 once it's below negative 100 dB, even if it would normally have more length after that point. Next, the mode section refers to the plugin's latency mode. Two options are selectable: low latency and medium latency. Low latency mode incurs the highest CPU use, while minimizing algorithm delay to just 992 samples. Medium latency mode incurs significantly less CPU use, and has an algorithm delay of approximately 2,000 samples. The next section is stereo, which has summed and stereo options. These options control the processing mode of the convolution engine when operating in stereo. In summed mode, Revolver will sum the inputs together, but in stereo, the plugin will operate in true stereo. Last up is the preset section, which has load all data and load IR only options. When load all data is selected, Revolver loads all parameters alongside the impulse response of any preset, but when load IR only is selected, Revolver loads only the impulse response of each preset. The latter is useful when the user wants to audition other impulse responses, but not alter other reverb parameters like wet level, pre-delay, etc. Now on to the remaining few pages that we haven't covered yet. The first is the tweak page, which adjusts the original impulse response's stereo imaging and diffusion with the split, S-delay, S-damp, pan, and diffuse controls. Split controls the amount of difference between the left and right channels as determined by the split delay and split damp controls. The S-delay knob alters the amount of delay time difference between the left and right channels by up to 50 milliseconds, and the S-damp knob controls the amount of filtering performed in the channel, further delayed by the S-delay control. Finally, the pan knob sets the balance of the left and right reverb signal, and diffuse controls the amount of acoustic smearing added to an existing impulse response at the reverb's output stage. The second to last page we'll need to discuss is the envelope page, labeled ENV. This page sets knobs at the bottom of the UI that control the envelope of the reverb with attack, hold, contour, and length controls. The attack knob is the same one shown when the main page is selected, and it controls the speed of the reverberation's onset. Hold controls the amount of time the shape of the reverb remains unaffected before the length control begins to fade the impulse response. The final control in this section is the contour knob, which controls the amount of boost or cut by up to plus or minus 12 dB applied to the impulse response over the time set by the hold control. The applied boost or cut reaches its maximum at the end of the hold time, and is great for making compressed and gated reverbs maintain a relatively fixed output level, or taming the already too loud impulse response before the length control fade begins. The final page we've yet to cover is Levels, which controls the plugin's input, output, reverb, delay 1, and delay 2 volume with their corresponding knobs. With all that out of the way, let's hear some examples. First, let's start with a basic example and hear Revolver on a vocal in this mix.
I can see the shadows look like you. I gotta forget, find something new.
this example, we're using factory default settings almost exclusively. The IR is the IR that loads into Revolver by default, and the only adjustments we're making to it is dialing back the length control to 63.4. However, we have made some changes in the plugin's crossover page. We've moved crossover 2 up to 5.3 kHz and turned the HF decay and MF decay knobs up almost all the way. This is giving all frequencies above 400 Hz a much longer decay time, resulting in a unique, breathy reverb sound that complements the mix. Let's solo the vocal and mess around with these controls a bit to experiment with other tones we can get from this section.
I can see the shadows look like you. I gotta forget, find something new. There's no going back for you and I can see the shadows look like you. I gotta forget, find something new. There's no going back for you and
Let's also cover one of the special effects IRs included with Revolver. In this case, we'll be working with the reverse Fantasy 2 IR to create a swell into the start of each line in this vocal. Here's how these vocals sound with and without the effect. To create this sound, all we had to do was duplicate the vocal track and then put Revolver on it with the reverse Fantasy 2 IR. From there, it's just a matter of shifting it around until it fits the length you're looking for and chopping out the parts of the vocal that you don't want the effect on. Let's hear this effect in solo. For these last two examples, we'll be transforming some tracks pretty significantly. First, we'll mess around with this piano track and get it sounding much more like a synth pad than a piano. For this track, we're using the Fantasy Studio Chambers 5 IR. The control making the biggest difference is the attack knob, which is making it so that every time signal goes into the reverb, we hear a bit of a swell into the reverb's sound. For even more character, we've also dialed up contour. Let's hear this track without either of these changes to hear what's going on. Our final example is an acoustic guitar track. Let's hear it with and without Revolver. also making extensive use of both of Revolver's delay lines, both of which are set to quarter notes and they're panned 100% left and right with slightly varying tones. To minimize the amount of low-end resonance in the sound, we've used the crossover page to decrease the LF decay time, causing all frequencies below 234 Hz to decay faster. Let's bypass these delay lines to hear what a huge difference they're making by adding tons of musical length to this reverb. Interested in learning more? Try out the Revolver Convolution Reverb free 14-day trial at the link in the description. It can be purchased on its own, and it's also included in the All Access subscription, as well as the Everything Pack and Emerald Pack plugin bundles. We've linked all of these options in the description as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more McDSP tips and content. Also, feel free to use the links in the description to follow us on other social media platforms.